Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an OP Witch Hunter or Anti-Mage build guide in Oblivion Remastered. Now, using a bow that can absorb magicka, we can be not only a good caster, but also deal a ton of damage. Our bow is going to be great from start because whenever we draw our bow, it does take a couple seconds to be able to pull it, and it's going to be able to deal sneak damage, which is nice, and then we can go off on just attacking, and anytime that we have cover, we can use our bow to draw and recover our magicka. So this is going to be a build that focuses on mostly taking out mages or any type of other caster, but as a benefit, we also got our own tools and tricks up our sleeves to be able to deal a ton of damage with this. So I'll be showing off the best ways to build this, starting with our identity. Now, I still think that the Breton is one of the best, but the Orc gets a shout out here. So these are anti-mages. They're meant to go against magic users. The Breton gets a 50% magic resistance, and they get increased magic by 50 points. So they are not only a good caster, but they're resistant to it. The Orc's also great too, because the Orc gets a 25% magic resistance, and they also get their Berserker Rage, which can empower their attacks. Now, they're not as good with bows. The Wood Elf's probably one of the best with actual marksmanship, so they can be a good choice too. Previously, they were not that good in the original Oblivion, but they are buffed up a little bit. I also think that the Dark Elf is probably a solid choice too, since they get 50 or 75% resistance to fire damage, the most common elemental damage type in this game. And they're also good with bow and destruction magic, which we are going to be using both those skills because we cast spells and use a bow. So I would recommend the Breton, the Dark Elf, the Orc. Even the Wood Elf can be a decent choice, or the High Elf, because they get 100 more magicka. However, they take 25% more damage from Fire, Frost, and Shock. That's something to keep in mind. The Nord's okay, gets 50% cold resistance. Khajiit can be good too, but I think the Breton is the absolute best choice, with the Dark Elf and Orc coming next. As far as Birthsigns go, the Atronach makes a lot of sense. It pretty much is the best sign, because it gives you a 50% chance of absorbing spells that are cast to you. Doesn't get more Witch Hunter Anti-Mage than that. It also has fortified magicka by 150 points, and you also can't recover your own magicka. However, using alchemy can help out with that. I also like the Lord because this gives us a 50% armor rating and 15% magic resistance, which means we're going to take less damage from magical spells. So this can actually work very well too. It's a flat out damage reduction, which is really nice to have. You could also go with the Lady for plus 10 to willpower and endurance. More endurance means we live longer, and more willpower means we regenerate our magicka quicker. The Thief is always a good choice because the plus 10 to luck is very beneficial because it takes 4 points per level up to level up your luck. Agility, also a nice stat to have high for bow attacks, and speed, never a bad idea. The Mage for plus 50 magic is okay if you want it. The Warrior for the increased endurance for better health and strength is nice. However, we're going to be better off with higher agility. So the Lady probably makes more sense, but I think the Atronach and the Lord are the two best choices here because the Atronach can just absorb spells for you, and the Lord gets that magical resistance. Now, there is a Witch Hunter build here. It uses Alchemy, Athletics, Conjuration, Destruction, Marksman, Mysticism, and Security. I think that's okay, but we can do better than that. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus mostly on Stealth or Magic. It's really your choice here. This gives a plus 5 bonus. I think Stealth works a little bit better here. And for our attributes, we do want a good amount of agility for our damage with bows, and we want a good amount of endurance for survivability. Intelligence can be nice too because it will increase your maximum magicka. And willpower is also good to increase the amount that we recover per turn or per second. So this giving us more ability to cast spells and faster magic regeneration. But I do think endurance and agility make the most sense here. We're going to want to level these up too as we level up, as this gives us more damage with our bows, and endurance just gives us more health. Our magic scales off how we craft the spells, so that's a little bit different. Luck is always a good stat to take here though too if you don't want to take agility. So we'll roll something like that there. And as for our skills, this is where it all comes together. We're going to be focused on, we need one armor type, and I think light armor just makes the most sense. Marksman, enough said. So if you want heavy armor, you can go with that, but it's less good with stealth. Marksman goes along with sneak. The stealth archer build plays true here because we can hide out and then get our extra attack or extra damage in from stealth. Also, stealth is one of the most useful skills in this game, so it's not a bad one to have high. We don't really need to use the other ones. We can actually go in on a couple skills. Destruction being a massive one because we're going to absorb magicka from the enemy and then dish it back with our destruction magic. Restoration, enough said. This is a very useful skill to have because restoration is just going to keep us alive. So we want to have that obviously for survivability's sake. Now, conjuration is really good. It's one of the best skills in the game, especially if you're on master or expert, because conjuration doesn't get hit with these damage scaling like it does on the higher difficulties where you do 0.167 times the damage. So this can help out quite a bit. And also alchemy works good because you can use poisons and stuff to poison your weapons, and that is really nice. And then also create potions. Also beneficial if you take the Atronak. So this can be a good mix. You can also go again with your specialization being magic instead if you want to focus more on that. But I think that alchemy, conjuration, destruction, and restoration work well. You can also go with illusion or alteration if you wanted to for shielding yourself, or going with this to paralyze enemies. But light armor, bows, and sneak work very well. It does. You might want to take blade as well if you really want to focus on doing weapon attacks, but I think that going between a bow and spellcasting works best for this build. Anytime that we're getting into a fight, it's nice to have a summon. And early game, the ghost is really good because most enemies can't actually hurt the ghost. So it can be a good one to use, especially since it does a range attack as well. It's not always the wisest. We got ourselves a Minotaur here, and sometimes the enemy's AI doesn't always work the best. But we can steal its health, or we can steal its magicka with our bow here, which is really nice for replenishing, and then we can dish out some more damaging attacks. Stealth is how we want to play though, so this is nice because we can literally get in there, and if we've used magicka for like invisibility per se, you'll be able to recover that. I like to use the Jade Droth as well as a summon because it's really big with its, it can take up a lot of space and also has a range attack. And it can also be, it's pretty good at tanking and just blocking overall enemies so that we can attack from afar with our bows here. And things like the annoying will-o-wisps can be tanked by it instead. So we basically want to be using our attacks to be able to draw out as much magic as we can, and then we can follow it up with our ranged attack or destruction magic. I really like to use the ghost summon, especially early game, because again, it does have the ability to not get hurt by a lot of enemies. Will-o-wisps are kind of like what we do. We're there to block damage. If you got a paralyze spell, this is another nice spell to use on targets, but it's a little bit hard because we can't actually hit the will-o-wisp with that. And we want to focus mostly on using our ranged attacks to be able to take care of it, because will-o-wisps are kind of annoying and hard to hit. It's nice because we can also use our summon outside of combat, and then it'll draw aggro and we stay stealth, so then we can follow up with our next attack to get our magicka back, and then use that to be able to cast our spells at the enemy there. So that's pretty useful, especially since when we get to our higher levels, the bow can actually paralyze enemies. So once we do that, we can regenerate our magicka here, which is really nice, and you can see that we were able to paralyze them, so we can get our final hits in. Alternatively, we can also use a magicka steel dagger too, if you prefer that over a bow. And also we can start with magicka from combat, but or to start combat, but I think the sneak attacks work a little better. You see there, we were still able to get the sneak attack off, but it just does a good amount of damage. Anytime that we end up getting surrounded and we can't pull off our stealth, it's nice to have our summon up, and then we can focus on just moving around or getting paralyzed like that. So we want to be focusing on dodging a lot too, because we're not going to be as tanky as some other characters can be, but stealing magicka is going to be nice because then we can use our spells, and then you can also cast some higher, more intense spells as well, since we're going to have the magicka to support that. So you can really benefit from crafting spells and making them have a ton of damage. Like I like a couple in particular. I have two spells here. A huge ice blast, which hits in 100 feet radius, does 30 points damage, or this one here, which does frost damage on target, which hits very hard. So ice blast being a really nice one because it does so much damage. You can hit, you can use some of the more damaging spells because we'll be able to regenerate. I unfortunately had a couple misses there because it's so slow, but our bow having that magical recovery is going to be super useful. Also, using the dagger to be able to recover your magic is quite nice as well. So you can use either of those and hope that this doesn't happen to you. But yeah, we're going to be focused mostly on using bow attacks and magicka together, so your personal preference. I also like to have a spell that increases weakness to certain elemental damage types, and then focusing solely around that, whether it be cold or be fire or shock damage. Being able to overcome resistances and deal extra damage is going to be nice overall. So we were able to get the stun off that time, which is perfect, so we can hope it would have been nice to be able to knock him off the ledge there. Oh, he went down anyways, so that's perfect, and instantly taken out. So yeah, that is a witch hunter build in Oblivion Remastered. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.